Welcome everyone to my little Delta Force video here. In this video, I will be talking about the ADS sensitivity types and how they work. There are 4 different ones, and each of them behave slightly differently, but at its core, these 3 behave the same way, and then this one at the bottom behaves drastically different from the rest. I wanted to go over this because no one else has done a video on this, and it is a little bit tricky how these work. So I wanted to go over it with a simple explanation for how they work, so people can determine, hey, is this the one I want, or is it going to be the next one that I want? Which setting do I want? I'm not going to talk about which one is the best. That's personal preference. I personally use this one, 0.9, 0.95 in these. That's my personal preference. I've seen some people, Focus, I believe, uses set sensitivity per zoom, which I've also been fiddling around with, as you can see. But it is up to you. But now let's get into the meat and potatoes of the video. I will be explaining these 4. So I want to start out with MDV. And this covers every single setting here. The only difference is, in MDV only, you only get to adjust the monitor distance coefficient, and then you have this universal sensitivity multiplier up here that you fiddle with. Set sensitivity per zoom plus MDV also has MDV involved, but lets you adjust the sensitivity to your liking. That's the one that I prefer. MDV per zoom, you can adjust the MDV for every single zoom. Not one that I've tried, and it's probably the one that's the most tricky to use. So yeah, I wouldn't bother with this one, but it's up to you. And then we have this one. And this one works completely differently. But let's go over it now. So MDV is affected by your FOV. That's how it works in a nutshell. It takes the FOV that you have, and then it applies more or less sensitivity depending on that FOV. So if I have 115 FOV like I have right now, and I do a full swipe on my mouse, I can get my mouse over to the spot. However, if I go into settings, and I go into graphics, put my FOV on 100, back out, and do a full swipe, I can only get to here now. What happened? Well, that is exactly how MDV works. Depending on your FOV, your sensitivity will be different. Very, very simple. And this also counts for when you're ADSing. So right now, I have a red dot, or a holosight, that is minus 0.5 in tuning. So if I do a full swipe, I can get all the way back here. Yeah, you see that? All the way back there. Now, if I go in here, I open the wrong menu. If I go in here, I calibrate, I put the zoom on 0.15 instead, minus 0.15. I do the same thing again. You see that? Now I can only get to here. Very, very simple. Now, for this other setting, it's the same for these 2, by the way. This one, you can just adjust the sensitivity, and this one, you can adjust the MDV per zoom. All these 3 work the same way, depending on your monitor distance coefficient. But this one is drastically different. It works in a very, very simple way. So if you've ever played the finals before, and you've seen this focal sensitivity setting, this is the same, the exact same as that. So what it does is it takes my sensitivity, and also a thing you'll notice is that my sensitivity will now be a lot lower on 115. You see that? Previously I could get over to the spot, now I can only get like here. And the reason why this happens is because this setting is not affected by FOV. So if I change my FOV to 100, like this, and I do another swipe, it'll be the exact same. It'll be over here. Right, just to go over that quickly, let me put it back on 115, like that. But the way this one works is very, very simple. So it takes your sensitivity, your mouse sensitivity, and then it multiplies it by the value of whatever zoom you're using. So 1 to 2x, that fits my holosight. So let's try to put it on 1. Let's see what happens. So 1.47 times 1. Let's see what happens here. So if I swipe, you'll see that I can go roughly over here. Now if I ADS and I swipe, I can go over here again. Very, very simple. Now if I modify the weapon, go to calibrate, let's zoom it inwards this time. So theoretically, the sensitivity should be lower now. You see how far in it's zooming. But no, it's not. It's unaffected. You see? It's unaffected. It goes to the exact same place again. And this is the same case with snipers or whatever other weapon you use depending on the zoom. So if I put this on 1, this 7 to 8x, and let's go in here, grab this M700, you will see that when I zoom in, the sensitivity, you see how I'm barely moving my mouse. The sensitivity is very, very, very high. So what you have to end up doing is lowering it quite substantially. So roughly 0.20 is good for me. So kind of like this. That's the basics. That's how these work. And yeah. So MDV, set sensitivity per zoom, plus MDV, set MDV per zoom, are all affected by your FOV and are all affected by what you put the monitor distance coefficient at. I've seen people put it on 1.33, which is default. I've seen people put it on 1.78, which is what I use. And I've seen people put it on 2. I don't know the details. I just know the higher, as far as I know, the higher it goes, the less drastic the sensitivity changes when your FOV changes. So the lower it is, the lower this goes, the more drastic it changes. That's in a nutshell. I don't know the details. I think someone in the comments can probably explain it way better than I can. But in a nutshell, if you want your sensitivity to feel, I guess feel better, because it takes your FOV into account, you can try to use MDV. But if you want your sensitivity to be consistent, you want it to always be the same setting to 360 when you're ADSing. You don't want it to be affected by, oh, now I zoom in a little bit more or a little bit less. Keep it the same. Then you can use the one at the bottom. It's up to you. But now you know how they work. And that's all I wanted to do in this video. I hope you learned something, and I will see you in the next video. Take care, everyone.